So, one thing I notice with my clients is that they don't know what they want in so many cases. And maybe there's also someone in their life having a partner that doesn't know what they want. And there's so much frustration around this because a lot of people don't even realize that this is the case for them. They think they wish their partner just knew what they wanted already. What do you want? But in reality, there's a lot of things inside of you probably that keep you from knowing what you want. And I want to get underneath what's going on there so you can have some clarity and help you get a better understanding so you can make a decision about what to do, how to reconnect with that part of you and understand what you want. So first, if you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I am a certified master hypnotist and a relationship coach and an attachment style coach. So what I do with my clients is I help them go back on a subconscious level so we can reframe the subconscious programming that's keeping them stuck and blocked. And then we implement a new way of being with very strategic steps to move you forward into the life and the love that you want. So if you'd like to learn more, or if you'd like to set up a completely complimentary consultation call so you and I can chat, because everyone's story is personal and unique, you can set that up in the link in the description below. So you'll want to check that out. And as always, if this content resonates with you, I really appreciate it if you would click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. So the issue of not knowing what you want is probably a lot deeper than you even think it is. And so what happens is there's a lot of women, especially over the age of 40, that are in a position to just ask themselves, like, I don't even know what I want. What do I want? Who am I? Where am I headed? And I don't think this is just a women's issue. Men have this issue too, where they don't have clarity about what they want. And the protective functions that are keeping them in conflict avoidance and in emotional shutdown and disconnected from their feelings is present for them too. So I want to give you a little bit of an analogy that I think is going to help you understand why this is happening and get some clarity. So when we're born, we have really an amazing guidance system. And that system is our feelings and our emotions. And they are sending us messages all the time. So imagine a baby has a wet diaper and it knows it wants that diaper changed, but it doesn't have words yet, just the feeling. So if someone gives it a bottle and it's not actually hungry, that baby's probably going to move its head and not want that bottle because it knows it wants a diaper change, even though it does not have words for it. Its feelings and emotions are telling it what that need is. And then throughout our childhood, we end up with parents and caregivers and people in our life telling us, that, oh, get over it. Oh, that's not worth crying about. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not a big deal. Dismissing our emotions over and over. And we kind of get the message that our emotions are too much. This other person or these people can't handle our emotions. They can't handle our bigness. They can't handle our feelings. And we shut down and we suppress them. And eventually, we no longer know what they're telling us to do. Now, the feelings, they don't go away. You keep having feelings and emotions, but you no longer have the ability to understand what they're telling you and meet that need in an appropriate way. So, the best example I can give is if you think of all your feelings and your emotions like the lights and gauges on the dashboard of a car, those lights and gauges are giving really good information. They're just giving information. But you have to know what to do with the information. So if your oil light came on and said you were, out of oil entirely, but you just thought, well, all I ever do is give this car gas. I'm just going to keep doing that. It'll be fine. Eventually, you're going to burn up the engine. And that's what happens in life when we burn it all down, when we go into burnout mode, where we don't know how to cope anymore, we're at emotional capacity. It's because we have been ignoring the lights on the dashboard for so long that we haven't been meeting our needs in real time, and we've been betraying ourselves in the process. And so the feelings don't go away, the emotions don't go away, but the ability to interpret them and meet that need in real time does go away, especially when it's coupled with a fear of judgment, a fear of rejection. And so not only are most of us not even aware of what we're feeling, but secondly, we aren't aware of the need that we have that needs to be met. And then thirdly, we aren't expressing that need to the people around us, and it's going unmet because we're not aware, we don't even know what the need is, and we're not expressing the need. And underneath that is this fear that if I express my need, if I actually say what I want, I could be rejected, I could be judged, I could be embarrassed. But the bigger fear under all of that is if this other person says no to my request, then I actually will have to do something, right? So when we make a request of another person, there's two ways to look at it. Either there's, maybe this is too much to ask of them. They can't meet that need. Maybe this is a need I can get met elsewhere. Maybe I can get this need met with my friend group, with a new activity. Maybe this person isn't, can't meet all my needs. Maybe this is something I can do elsewhere. But if it's an important need that's part of an intimate partnership, and the other person refuses to meet the need or to discuss it or to even like do just a collaborative problem solving talk about, let's get curious about how we can fix this. If that other person isn't willing to do that, now we're faced with the actual information that we have gathered that this person is unwilling. And once we know they're unwilling, now we have to make a decision. Can I stay in this relationship? And to avoid having to make that decision, people simply will not ask for what they need. But it really does go deeper because in most scenarios, people don't even know what they need. They don't know what they're feeling. They don't understand what those feelings are telling them. They don't know their needs enough to even express them. And if they do, they aren't expressing them. And so we've been conditioned that we're supposed to be a certain way. And if you just look at women alone, there's a lot of very good girl mentality. Just be a good girl, do X, Y, and Z, and then everyone will approve of you and you'll be okay. Look a certain way, dress a certain way, behave a certain way, use the right tone, choose the right timing. They're very conditioned, women, to walk on eggshells without even knowing it, to manage other people's reactions to them, to their authenticity, to who they are. And men have this as well, but it's a bit different. They are also told who they're supposed to be and how they're supposed to show up in the world and how real men should behave and what it means to go from being a boy to a man. And there's a lot of suppression and repression and disconnection from feelings and emotions because society as a whole tells them they're not supposed to feel big feelings and they're not supposed to have these emotions, but they do. And there's been several studies about male babies and the fact that they actually feel very deeply. They cry more, they're more needy, they feel very deeply. And because they have big emotions and big feelings, oftentimes if they are neglected, if they are hurt, they put up a lot of emotional walls really quickly to suppress those big feelings because it's overwhelming to them. And they certainly aren't growing up in a society that tells them how to feel their feelings, that they're not bad, that they're okay, but to how to process them, how to move through them. There's none of that. This is probably the first generation, like my kids' generation, that has had any of that kind of coaching. So the majority of people have never had that. And then you've got women who are continually told that, you have to behave a certain way and you have to carry yourself a certain way and you have to act a certain way and you have to talk a certain way so that you can be accepted and acceptable. And we carry all of this into our adult life, these conditioning things that have happened in the programming of our brain. And then we wonder why we don't know what we want because we were told to want certain things. We were told to be certain things. And we were never told to trust our own guidance. Now, that doesn't mean that every feeling, the story behind every feeling you have, is accurate, is 100% truthful. It's not. But it is telling you something if you're able to slow down the process. So instead of making an assumption that this feeling means this person must think this or that, right? They must think that of me. They must be judging me. We're making all these assumptions, and we cannot know if that is true. So we've got to be able to slow down the process. Now, I just want to mention that our subconscious mind is being programmed from birth to age 7. We are in hypnosis during those years in the theta brainwave state. And during that time, we're assigning meaning to everything that's happening to us, even the times we don't get our needs met. And we don't have any discernment around that. So we might be assigning meaning like, oh, well, if I can't get my needs met, maybe I'm bad. Maybe I'm too much. Maybe I'm not good. And we just don't have any clarity during that time. And then we go on through life and we have traumas and complex traumas and other behaviors that reinforce some of these negative beliefs that just aren't true. And so the reason the hypnotherapy process is so profound is because it goes back on a subconscious level and reframes those beliefs on a subconscious level so that you can have clarity instead of all of the confusion, because the subconscious mind is driving over 95% of everything you think, feel, and do, but you do not have access to it. And it's important that we make changes on the subconscious level if we want to be able to maintain those changes in relationships, in our life, in every capacity. And so we all get to this point where we ask ourselves, what do we want? And we think we know what we want. And we say, well, I want this and I want that, and I want a healthy partner, and I want someone communicative, and I want all these things. And those may be valid, but they also might be conditioned. They might be conditioned responses to what we've been taught we're supposed to want. And it does take reframing the subconscious mind so that we get the blocks out of the way that keep repeating this message on a loop in our brain that isn't something we even wrote. We've got to get those out of the way. And then we have got to be centered and connected to our self-worth enough to step into a new way of being. We need to step into vulnerability. We need to be able to step into trying new things. We need to step into expressing our needs to the people in our life, even if those people are just our friends. Because if we don't, we're never going to be able to do it in a relationship that matters to us. Because when a relationship matters to us, it triggers all of our attachment wounds, all of our attachment programming, because we are meant to be connected. We are meant to be attached. And when we're children, being attached to our caregiver means we get to survive. It means someone's going to take care of us because we are very incapable of taking care of ourselves as human beings. Like the most helpless babies ever. We're not walking on the same day like a horse does or something. Like we really need to be taken care of. And if our attachments are threatened, then we go into panic mode. And if our attachment person who takes care of us is also the person who hurts us, there's a lot of confusion there. And so when we really care about someone in an intimate relationship, we start betraying ourselves if we think that it's going to keep us safe, if we think that it's going to keep us in the good graces of this other person. But the reality is that it just creates more tension, more resentment, more of holding up a fake mask of who you are not. And so you have to be willing to step into a level of discomfort so that you can express those needs. It's important. But before that, you've got to know what the feelings are, understand what the actual need is, know how to express it, which is all things I teach my clients, so that once we've done the reframing subconsciously, you actually know what to do moving forward. And so I treat this process as a very holistic process because I want my clients to have all of the tools. But one thing that you probably want to do, if you feel like you don't know what you want, you aren't sure, you need to take the time to slow things down a bit. Connect with what you're feeling every day. Ask yourself, What is this feeling? When did I first feel it? Because that is a clue as to why it feels so big. And then ask yourself, what is my actual need here? What is the need that I have that would actually help this feeling feel better? And sometimes you don't know. So you have to start trying things. And maybe I need stimulation and creativity. Maybe I need to try taking a class. Maybe I need to go to yoga. Maybe I need a painting class. Maybe I need connection and understanding. Maybe I need to feel seen and heard. Maybe I need to start cultivating deeper relationships. What does that look like? And you have to start practicing that so that you can implement this new way of being. It's really important to do that because if you don't do that in your regular life, you aren't going to be able to do it in your relationship life. And you end up repeating patterns, getting stuck in dynamics that aren't serving you or really the other person at all. And I think the mistake a lot of people make is they think, well, I just, I feel better on my own when I'm not being triggered emotionally at all. But those triggers are giving you information about things that you need to deal with. And so if you'd never put yourself out there and you self isolate, you are slowing down the growth process. The growth process isn't like, I put myself out there and I let myself get pummeled and hurt in every way. No, you put yourself out there with discernment, with wisdom, with boundaries, but also coupled with a warm openness and curiosity so that you can take in these new experiences and you can experience what's going on inside of you and with the other person. And you can make educated decisions, because if we just isolate and we pull back, we really stop the growth process. So people who just keep doing the same things, they might still be putting themselves out there, but they aren't growing because they aren't being self-reflective. And if there's a lot of shame, then every time you look at yourself and go, okay, what is the belief that kept me hanging in there so long? What was going on inside of me? If you can't do that because you're so full of shame, then you're going to avoid and detach from those feelings, and you're going to stay stuck even longer in the same patterns, making the same mistakes, and not creating growth and change in your life. And so a lot of times when you get to the maybe mid 40s, that's where I'm at. For a lot of people like myself, my kids are grown. I have been putting an external focus on their well-being and their care and all of that for so long that it has taken some time to ask myself, what do I want? What feels good to me? What nourishes my soul? And it has required intentional work. So if you are sick and tired of doing the same thing, getting the same results, and feeling like you're on a hamster wheel, maybe it's time to get some help. And if that custom hypnotherapy process is something you'd like to understand more, definitely check out that link in the description where we can chat and you can set up that consultation call. Because of course I'm partial to this process, but I'm partial because I did everything else. I did all of the therapy. I did the EMDR. I did all of the other work, and it wasn't until I hired a hypnotherapist that does the modality that I do that really changed things for me, really opened me up to a new reality, allowed me to detach from unhealthy connections, helped me connect to my self-worth. And it's such a profound process because it's working on the subconscious level. So again, the things you can start doing today is checking in with yourself, identifying what you're feeling, when you felt it for the first time, preferably under the age of 18, because those hardwired programs are old. And it's actually why studies have shown that people who speak more than one language actually make clearer, better decisions if they are processing the information in their second language, because there aren't as many emotions and feelings attached to those words. But when you're young and you're programming your subconscious mind and you're learning a language all at the same time, those words are attached to deep feelings, emotions, experiences. And so they trigger emotion in a way that a second language won't trigger. And so the assumptions you make based on that programming aren't always accurate. So start with that. Identifying the feeling, when did I first feel it, and what do I actually need? So you can start expressing those needs to the people around you. And again, if this resonates with you, I really appreciate it if you click like and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.